Now, also from today, there will be a further reopening of other activities in the community. For example, capacity limits for attractions will increase to 65%, while the limit for shopping malls and large standalone stores will increase to 8 square meters per person. Religious organizations can hold services for up to 250 people, conducted in zones of up to 50 each. And for marriage solemnizations, a total of 10 persons plus up to 8 visitors are allowed. And starting on Wednesday, Singapore will begin its COVID-19 vaccination exercise. First up are healthcare workers at the National Centre for Infectious Diseases, followed by the elderly aged 70 and older next February. The entire adult population will be offered free vaccinations on a voluntary basis. But as Singapore moves into this long-awaited Phase 3 with all the loosened measures, it's not a return to life as we knew it before COVID. Infectious diseases specialist Dr. Leong Hoe Nam joins me now. Now, Dr. Leong is from the Rophi Clinic at Mount Elizabeth Novena. Doctor, experts like yourself have said that one of the hotspots for a potential outbreak is dining out, because that's when people have their masks off, eating and talking at the same time. Now, with the group size allowed up to 8, is there anything we need to do differently when dining out?
The risk is always there. When we take off the mask, we can actually transmit to others and others transmit it back to us. So the mask is a very effective protective mechanism. We have to keep that in our minds. Now, when we actually do 8 persons, the problem is not only will you pass on to 1 person, but you can pass on to 8 people and the spread become exponential at the same time. It really tells us that we are very vulnerable. If we want our economy to open up, we want our tummies to open up to the feasting, then we must play the part. Unfortunately, it really goes back to when you eat, take off the mask. When you're not eating, when you're not drinking, put the mask back on. We have to be diligent in this. Singapore is at risk. We may bear the consequences if we are not careful.
Right. Doctor, looking at the bigger picture now, what else can we do on an individual level on top of the 3 things that we've been doing, like you said earlier on, masking, observing physical distancing and practicing hand hygiene as more restrictions ease and activities restart in Phase 3?
Think of all these measures as an extra layer of protection. So we have masks first layer, social distancing, another layer. Third layer is actually your hand hygiene, keeping it clean. 4th layer is your Trace Together app. 5th layer is actually your safe entry. But now, coming on the 30th of December, we have yet another layer, which is the vaccines. If we have multiple layers, if any of them were to fall through, then we can still contain it very quickly. Now, we need to remind everyone that it is not just about the government doing the actions, but all of us playing the part, from wearing the mask and safe distancing and doing the safe entries, etc. Only when all of us work together, cooperate together, then we have a tight wall of defense against the virus coming into Singapore. Now, I know the temptation is there to stop wearing masks because we have literally 0 cases. But this virus is like a tiger that will prowl around us. Once it finds the weakest point, it will hit us. So go back to the 5 layers which I talked about, plus the vaccines, and that will keep Singapore safe. I want to remind you, look at all the countries around us. Any country that opened up, they had new cases. So it looks as if new cases is a definite, it's definitive. It will happen. Well, Singapore can make that difference.
Right. On that note, Doctor, of course, the world is watching us right now as we enter Phase 3. And as you rightly mentioned as well, other countries like South Korea and Hong Kong, they tried to reopen but did not fare so well, facing another wave. So what are the lessons that we can learn from these countries and the potential pitfalls that we should look out for?
Look at it. Hong Kong, Korea, Taiwan, they did beautifully. Even China was really draconian. But when they opened up the economy and they opened up the the port and people started coming in and out, they get new infections again. So it tells us that this virus is very, very good. It transmits very effectively. And you have to bring it into context. Now we have the B117 mutation coming from UK. The transmissibility goes up by easily 50 to 70%. In the face of all this, with high transmissibility, can Singapore escape the next COVID local case? I don't think so. I'm going to be very honest and say that it will be very, very difficult. So in that sense, it is a given that we will have another local community case. But if that local community case falls through, then it goes down to the 5 layers of defense, which I talked about together with the vaccine is the 6th layer. With these 6 layers, we can then contain the virus to as small a group as possible so that we don't go back to circuit breaker. Honestly, the circuit breaker has left etched permanent battle scars, psychological scars, as well as financial scars on the whole economy. Ourselves, our families, our loved ones, and the whole economy of Singapore. I don't want to go back there. And the only way to do it is that all of us observe all the rules and principles clearly. Look at how South Korea broke through. Look at how Hong Kong broke through. You realize through the ports of entry, people came in and they were not detected. You realize that when there's a super spreading event happened, people were not wearing a mask consistently and they were not doing the safe distancing. Now, Singapore and Hong Kong has a disadvantage which we don't have. Okay, and that is the cold weather. The cold weather makes the transmissibility easier. Singapore is helped by the weather. It is a bit cooler, but the weather will still help us nonetheless.
Right. Dr. Leong, just to round up our discussion today, at this juncture, compared to a few months back when we faced an explosion of cases in the workers' dormitories, how better placed is Singapore in the event that another wave occurs?
We are really much better. The mask, for one, we are no longer struggling with masks. You can even buy disposable masks off the shelves easily. We have reusable masks is given by the government, and many creative entrepreneur individuals have started making them. Masks make a lot of difference. So unlike yesteryears, we have better masks. Number two, we have much better tracing capabilities. Back in February and March, we were using technology based on 1918 works. Manual tracing of contact. That is ridiculous. We can't do it fast enough and we can't do it on a large scale. So now we have the Trace Together app, which I carry along with me all the time. Trace Together, and with the safe entry, we can actually track people as to whom they came in contact with. Not where they've been, but the infected people will come in contact with. Literally at the snap of a finger, at a press of a button, we can inform them through the Trace Together app that you've been exposed and you may be at risk to your loved ones. That way, we can contain the information much better. Number three, we have a trained group of people who know safe distancing and wearing a mask. This has been drilled into us repeatedly for the last few months. We have become more proficient in it. And number four, very importantly, we have actually very tight systems of control. We have better control of port people coming into Singapore. You realize compared to yesteryears, or rather at the beginning of the epidemic, we are swabbing people when they come in. We're swabbing people when they leave the stay-home notice. We're swabbing a lot of foreign dormitory workers as well routinely. We're swabbing airport officials and those people who come in contact with foreigners. And mind you, the number of tests which we can do now is several thousands compared to just about 500 or even less at the start. So things are very different. The systems are in place. The only thing is, are we compliant to the rules? If we are compliant, I would love Singapore to be the country that evades COVID-19 wave again.
Right. Always appreciate your time, Dr. Leong. I've been speaking to Dr. Leong Hoe Nam, an infectious diseases specialist from the Rophi Clinic.